just don't like him. He's not related to me. I'm not admitting to him. I'm going to be like my mother and not admit to my brother like she used to.
Well, when I found out there was 4 more of you guys and your poor mother,
My poor mother. Yeah.
Oh God, don't feel sorry.
So you know this is streaming live already.
Oh no.
That's all right.
thanks for that.
That's okay.
I kind of figure this might resonate in quite a few households.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a little bit more selective what we have to laugh about these days. So we're waiting for Mike.
Yeah. And Kel.
Oh, Cal, yeah.
Yeah.
Government
I'm not
officials.
sure who else was. Ronald.
Used to be one.
Mhm. That's true. Oh, Janice. Here comes Mike.
Good.
Okay, there you go, darling.
What about
Hey, Jean. Yeah, you're on now live. Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
what's the mute button?
Okay. Hold on a
Oh,
second.
Kel's here.
Oh, I can't see any mute button here. No mute.
Okay. Good morning, Mike. So
Morning,
is everybody
Cal.
here?
Morning.
Good morning, Cal.
Good morning.
Okay. I think we can go ahead. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Cal, could you please do the recognition of territories?
Yes, I'd like to recognize that we are on the traditional lands of the Toquat Nation, the Yukulithat, and the other Malnouth. Just to recognize and appreciate that fact. Thank you.
Thank you. The notice to attendees and delegates that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube on the regional district website. So everybody's aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Approval of agenda. Can I please have a motion and a seconder to approve the agenda?
I motion. Ron.
Ron McKinley motions, Terry Graff seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Yay.
Yay. Minutes, a motion to, has everybody read the minutes? And I'd like to make a motion to accept them as written. Can I have a seconder, please?
Sure.
Jill, all in favor?
Yay.
Passed. Okay.
They got to figure
First
out how to spell
one.
your name.
Oh, yeah. There's no E on the end of my name. On the Pete, it's only P-E-E-T. So, I know. Okay, request for decision and bylaws. First request that the Salmon Beach Committee support the creation of a new driveway culvert application program to regulate and standardize the installation of culverts with a cost recovery fee. Okay. Discussion, people. confirm the updated scope. Okay. Okay. There are two options in this.
Could you get the cats into there?
Basically, Mike, can you mute yours when? Thank you. Okay, we've been offered two options for this culvert. Option one, set up a permitting system to regulate privately installed driveway culverts. And option two is to set up a new driveway culvert application program to have the ACRD install culverts. I've read through all this, and my opinion, option two seems to be probably the best option, but I have a problem with the estimated cost. Any other comments?
I think option two
Nope.
for me is in keeping with what we said that we wanted in terms of continuity throughout the village. And I was in agreement with that too, Ellen. I just, again, the estimated cost is something I think we need to maybe button down a little bit better.
Yes.
I agree.
I agree as well. We're just having our house done in Qualicum, 24 meters of ditching with a catch basin and other sort of goodies. And it's going to be about $2,850 for 24 meters. Not a
Jenny, you
modern
wanted to-
driveway.
Oh, sorry, Terry. Jenny, do you want to speak on this?
Thank you. Yes, well, good morning, guys. And that's excellent that you're looking at the second one, because that is probably a little simpler and easier for everyone. We will have to create a bylaw, and so we've got some work to do. We can go back and look at the detailed cost estimates. What makes up part of that is looking at, if we had bought 4 culverts and hauled them to Salmon Beach, there may be more costs, even though, that's a pretty good cost estimate, $2,800, $2,000 for a culvert. I think we might be up a little higher, just honestly, material transport costs. So we can drill into that and get you some better cost estimates. We will have to create a bylaw, so we've got some work to do on that. If the committee is willing to move forward without setting a specific fee, which we haven't asked for, then we will come back with some better details.
Okay. Sound good? Okay. I assume we need a motion on this
I
one.
move we accept option two with some better details on costing.
Second.
Second, Terry, Terry Graff. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Aye. Okay, passed. Next, request for decision that the Salmon Beach Committee confirm the updated scope of services, pricing schedule for the maintenance operation contract Salmon Beach to be included in a request for proposal for maintenance and operational services in Salmon Beach. Okay, a couple of questions on this. I think the duty schedule's fine. The biggest one I find is the number 8, the contractor has to keep access to the septic locked at all times and has to supply supervised use to determine volumes of septic being introduced. So does this mean that every time I am assuming this means that every time that somebody other than the pump and haul is going down there, we're talking Blue Boys or anybody that hauls their own sewage then has to contact the contractor, have him to open the gate, and they have to do sewage numbers, right?
That is correct. And
Jenny?
that is correct. The key with this one and the concern is that we really need to track the volume that's going on those fields. And I've requested that we look at adding into the upgrade for type 2 flow measurement. right? So we add in flow measurement. So that'll help us to have a record of it. But maybe the second one is also a bit conditional on the following report that talks about fees, right? And making sure that everyone is paying for the service. So if we, it is better to control it, and I think, because then we get a better handle on how much sewage is going into it, especially before we have the ability to measure that. But also, as far as equitable payment for service, if we look at setting a rate of $5 per 100 liters or something to that effect, then we can track that as people use it, and it'll go through the billing system as we do currently. And so that'll make sure that people who are using the septic field are putting money away for the maintenance and replacement costs that are incurred. From a user perspective, I can understand that there might be concerns and hesitations because when can I access it, things like that. And that's where I'm hoping within the contract, because really the septic is hauled on a regular basis, if there's even hours set where the contractor says, I'm available Mondays, call anytime between Monday, 8 to 10, and I'm happy to come and meet you there and let you in. So that might be the only thing. And it's just in order to make sure that we ensure that that is getting written down, even if it's an estimate, one Blue Boy, name, address, done, go for it.
Okay.
If I may suggest that currently there are certain time periods that the gate is open for the sandy field for people to access. I have to agree with Jenny's comment that we have to monitor. It's been pretty loose goose as far as the gate being open, people going and dumping. And I believe that they have to pay for the service the same as everybody else. If you want to pump it out, it's going to cost you X dollars. If you, we don't know what's going in there. And I think that if the contractor sets the time frame that allows people to go in there and basically monitors as part of his job what's going in there and the quantity, then people can be billed accordingly. We've come a long way, and I think it's important to, if we want to retain this sandy field in proper working order. Any of you and myself as well don't want to hear complaints about, so and so dumped this in there or dumped that in there, and so it gets to be a problem. That's my comment. Thank you.
Terry?
So,
Terry?
Yeah, I was thinking about how we make everyone in the community pay for the service. And I was thinking that it's easy enough to know who doesn't have a tank in the ground. And can we not charge those people extra on their taxes rather than having Ryan spend his time standing around while people empty their Blue Boys, because he's expensive and it's not really good use of his time, I don't think. Plus, we have another tank that people dump their trailers and whatnot into. And I don't know if that goes directly into the other tank on the other side of the road, or if it is sort of contained until he empties it. That would give him a good indication of how much sewage is being put in on any given day, I would imagine. Thanks.
So as part of the, sorry.
Jill, go.
So as part of the remediation that's going to happen in the springtime, I'm assuming, is there provision for monitoring the effluent that will go into the system from the Blue Boys, like that we don't have now, and Ryan can keep a record of it that way instead of standing there with people when they're dumping?
So I have followed up on that, and it looks like for about it'll be I think we are able to include for another $5,000 the flow monitoring. So that's a good thing, but won't tie that. So if we did leave it open, it won't tie it to the properties for using it. And I recognize that there is some cost to Ryan's time, or to the contractor's time, whoever the successful person will be for the new contract. But it might be more cost effective than you think, especially if people are paying the fees while they're doing the tipping. So that when you think about right now, if you have a tank in the ground and you call for that service, that fee that you're paying pays for the time for the truck. It pays for the time for the contractor. It, in theory, also pays for the infrastructure right to put some money away for capital. So it covers all of those fees. And the deal with this in paying when you tip is that the amount you pay, because if it's a small thing and it's very quick, it really is very little time. So if you're dumping that, then those fees cover, again, it's the same concept. It will cover the time for Ryan's time to go there and unlock it, as well as put money into the operation maintenance and infrastructure renewal for that service. So there is benefit, again, in tying those fees to the actual usage based on who uses it.
I'm just trying to envision the practicality of Ryan running down there for a Blue Boy. I'm not sure how many days a week. Is it 3 days a week that the opportunity is there for those folks in the community to come and dump? What does that look like for his day? And who's going to organize that? And what time is that going to happen? You know, and how does he organize the rest of his time? Because it can't take priority.
I understand that. So, and I'm going to propose something, not being a Salmon Beach community member, but if Ryan's out and he's pumping sewage and he gets a call from someone and they're like, hey, I've got a Blue Boy I want to dump today. And he's like, great, I'm going to be down there dumping this in about 2 hours. I'll meet you there at 10:30. Is that, I don't know if that's a situation that could unfold. Would that work? Because if he's dealing directly with meeting people down there, and if you can call on the phone, maybe it could be a very efficient system.
I'm not sure how many people, maybe some of the others can chime in, how many people we're actually talking about here. If it's 4 people in the community, that's one thing. If there's 22, that's another thing. My curiosity is, we've actually asked or requested that the community not contact Ryan directly as it relates to these kinds of things. So now we have another message, which is nobody contact him directly. You guys all go through the ACRD, but you have the right to phone him whenever you want and set up your own schedule. I'm a little bit concerned about the theory and the practicality here. I'm not convinced that we have a solution.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly, Jill. We've tried to keep Ryan or the people away from calling Ryan because they do inundate him sometimes at all hours. I know he's been called at 10 o'clock at night, and that shouldn't happen.
No.
And who says Ryan's going to get the contract? So it may be somebody off site that just comes when they're, we're pretty lucky that Ryan is on site with what he does, but if his contract is, if he doesn't get it, somebody else gets it from off site, then what happens there?
If the field is, if that's open 3 days a week and we have a system in place to monitor the volume of effluent from the Blue Boys without him having to be there, then one of the solutions is that we now have a more accurate record of the volume that's going in there. The secondary solution that has to happen for us is to capture all of the folks that are using their Blue Boys that are currently paying nothing. And I think that's an easier fix. I don't have it at the tip of my tongue to funnel through the ACRD like the rest of folks do now. Just not sure at the moment what that would look like, Jenny.
So phone service at the beach is spotty at times.
Mhm.
I, for the most part, will not be able to receive phone calls at my cabin on Front Street. I can call out though.
Yeah, so somebody could phone
Yeah.
and say, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, that field is open between 11 and 4. If we had a way to count the effluent, we are tracking better. If they can phone up and say, I've got a Blue Boy, here's my credit card, it's $10, whatever it is, off you go. And that's a different kind of scheduling. They don't have to wait 8 weeks. Our major concern is that we know what's going in there and we can track it, but that all the folks at Salmon Beach pay for the use of that system. We need probably to fine tune it, but how do the others feel? Is this getting closer to something that we feel is workable?
Jenny has her
Still-
hand up.
Okay, if so one thing here that I think
Go ahead, Jen.
hasn't been mentioned is I believe there's also people who have their own in-ground tanks, quite large, that haul their own septic to the system. So a Blue Boy, a number of them is probably not a concern. I'm very concerned about large volumes of septic going into the system, and that is happening, and that definitely needs to be tracked. And I don't think it's a great idea to expect people to be honest. It's not that people aren't, but unless there are rules and there's a system in place to make people be accountable, everyone will avoid the system. So I'd rather plan for something that is easy to just follow the rules, and so everyone has to apply. So there does need to be some way to have people pay who are using the system and in large volumes.
Mhm.
Jill?
So my comment to that is, I think the number of people that are taking a large volume is extremely minimal. My feeling has been and still is that should be stopped. Period. If you have a large volume, it's no longer an option that you take it yourself. I mean, I've always worried about spillage and things like that. So that's something I feel for the good of the entire community that be rescinded. You got a Blue Boy, we understand that. The other thing that we have as a community never addressed is the point that Terry brought up, that you buy at Salmon Beach, you need a tank in the ground. You've got 1 year, 2 years, whatever we give. And these are rules that we haven't tackled, changes that we haven't made. But as our community grows and as it becomes more and more important for us to understand what's going in there, it needs to be handled by one person. So is it an option for us to set a date and there will be no large quantities permitted? Like if you have a system where you can take that much, pump it out of your tank, then you need to just pay and Ryan will pump it out of your tank, or our maintenance person will, so that we can, as a community, track our safety and good health.
Jerry?
I would say just don't allow anything bigger than a Blue Boy.
Yeah.
There's another concern that I'd like to bring up is that if people are dumping Blue Boys, there is the potential, and it's unsupervised, there's a potential for someone to dump materials that are toxic to the water treatment plant. The new water treatment plant is a biological treatment plant. So if there's toxic materials going in there, you could kill your plant where you'll need time for it to regrow its biological activity.
Mm-hmm.
Which treatment plant are you talking about?
I'm talking about the new treatment plant that we're going to be building this year, the Type 2 treatment plant.
And are you talking about the chemicals that people use in like motorhomes and stuff that people like to use in their sewer systems in motorhomes, like that blue stuff, whatever it is?
It could be,
Is that
but
what we're talking about?
it's also somebody just wanting to get rid of some old paint thinner they might have laying around too, not sure where to dump it.
It's a vulnerability for
that-
sure.
So if you had it
Yeah.
super, you would actually catch people and, detain people from doing that.
Oh,
True.
Or how to regulate in other ways that people have to follow the rules. It is much easier if we just, if we just control what goes into the septic field, then it's kind of the simplest method. And then, whatever you're bringing there. And so I think maybe it might be the concern that I'm hearing is really about how does this schedule and the logistics of getting that. So maybe that's a detail that we can work out, but if everyone is in support of locking down the septic and controlling access and controlling what goes into that system, I think that we can work on the details of how that happens from a logistical perspective.
Mhm. I agree.
Yeah, I
Even
think we
if
have to.
it's set, even if it's set to one day, certain hours, Ryan's there. I mean, Monday morning from 10 to 12 is your time to get in there, whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be 3 days a week. Yes, we've given them that option. We used to have it open on Saturdays and Sundays. We took that option away. So we're just going to give them another new option so that will cover those people.
There's going to be some
I mean-
pushback, but when we were a community of 50 people,
Yeah.
we could do those things. Now, a community of the number that we are, it's just not possible. So I think you're proposing a good suggestion there, Jenny, to, let's work out our details, but we're going to button this down. It's for everyone's health and safety and the viability of the community.
Kel?
Yeah, if I may, I have to agree with that. I think we have to button that down, as you mentioned, Ellen, 1 day a week. There's, it's so important for the future of Salmon Beach in the interim until something better comes along or that the community decides that that's what they want to do. I also think that perhaps Jenny or Mr. Thomas can have a chat with Ryan, and he can, I'm sure, as a contractor, can tell us who's who in the zoo and who has blue boys and who does the other thing. And I think it's something that we need to know, as a community, to be able to curtail. Who knows? Somebody goes out there at 2 o'clock in the morning because the gate's open. What? It's really problematic, and it's time that the community button down and control the regulation of who dumps when and what they're dumping, and it has to be monitored. If it happens to be 1 day a week, then so be it. That's the way it has to go. Thank you.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so have we discussed this enough, I think? And we have a motion to accept.
Ellen?
Just hang on.
Yes.
I just want to say, I just want to confirm that the maintenance contractors, the wording in the maintenance contractors job description is to a maximum, pumping to a maximum capacity of the septic system at its improvement. In other words, this contractor will provide service to the community to pump out to the maximum, which I think in this, it says 11 or 12 pumps at maximum once the remediation is done. And I'm just wanting to confirm that those two items are married up.
Yeah, I mean, for right now, it states for approximately 7 to 8 pumps. And then once the type 2 system goes in, it will go up to approximately 11 pumps a week.
And so we will,
that's all the maximums that we have.
Yeah.
That have
So it should be
investigated.
It should be clear that our expectation of our contractor is that when whatever the maximum is that the system can take, if the demand is there, that he meet that demand. It's in his contract, if this is a 3-year contract, we don't want to be renegotiating it in a year because we held it to 7 or 8 pumps, because that's all we could do right now. I'd like to see the flexibility in the wording so that as the system can take more, it's in his contract, we're paying for it, that he just does to capacity.
Yeah, on page 8 in the summary, the number 1 in the summary basically says that.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
This one?
I
Okay.
just wanted to mention that number 6, where it says pressure wash tennis and basketball courts, May 1st, every 2 years commencing 2021, it should read. As well, are we concerned about the lines that we've paid to have painted on there get washed off? So
Where does this say that?
maybe as
here.
directed. I'm looking at number 6 on page 10.
Jones basketball.
Yes,
Yeah,
2020.
yeah. Well, I mean, we haven't had a power wash because of the new lines being put on until we know that they've set up well enough. And then we'll go from there. I think
So
we
as
just have to do
directed
practice.
rather than,
Pick a
I
spot.
think it should read as directed. Or as instructed.
Well, I mean, yeah, the ACRD can fix that according to however they would like to fix that. I mean, it's just a small thing. I mean, until we know that those lines aren't going to power wash off, it won't get power washed. So basically as directed would be nice. Jill?
Miscellaneous item 1, contractor's checklist must be completed and submitted to the ACRD on a monthly basis.
All right.
Could the Salmon Beach Committee receive theirs monthly as well? A copy of it or something?
Do you receive anything now?
Jenny?
No.
No, it says we're supposed to, but nobody's ever sent it to us. And I guess we've never requested it.
So I would suggest that you consider whether that is a good use of your time or not, or whether that's useful information. So the contractor's checklist is checking to make sure that they are doing the contract work. And that comes in and we look it over and we make sure it's getting done. Now, if there's concern about work getting done or not getting done, regardless of whether the checklist is submitted and completed, I would expect that the Salmon Beach Committee would say, hey, like, we're concerned about the contractor not doing X. And that response would come to the staff member at the ACRD, and then we would follow up on that. I don't see a value necessarily, except in the essence of paperwork, in submitting this to the Salmon Beach Committee.
So it is, as Ellen mentioned, it was part of what was recommended to come to us once a month. As far as good use of our time, we're all volunteers. So it's not a problem for me to look at it once a month. And I can tell you, for me, the reason I would want to see it is because when a neighbor is grumbling about something that is or isn't done, I'm much more apprised on a regular basis of what our poor fellow is doing, and being recognized only for what people think he isn't doing. So, I think it is a bit of a valuable ongoing bit of information
I agree.
to us.
Yes. Yes, I think we would like to receive it once a month. I mean, you can just send it to me and I will forward it to everybody else. Just send it to the chair if you want, or send it to all of us. But
Just to you, Ellen, is great.
Doesn't. Okay.
Thank you.
But yes, please. Okay, can we have a motion for this? Where are we? I'm lost. Maintenance operations service contract to accept. Ronald?
Sure. I move, we accept it.
I had another question about the contract.
Okay, Terry.
So when I read the contract, the last paragraph on page 9 talked about, it seemed to me like it was talking about splitting the contract into two parts. One would be for the maintenance and one would be for the pump and haul. Go ahead, Jen.
Go ahead, Jenny.
So the pricing is, it's the same contract, it's just a different pricing schedule. So what we're looking at is that because we're going to have two situations, we have the current number of pump and hauls, which is a maximum of 7 to 8. We're going to be increasing that to 11 or however many is the maximum volume. So that's a significant difference in work capacity. So the rest of the scope of the contract is going to be the same for the entire term of the contract. And depending on various components, the amount of sewage that's pumped and hauled is variable. So you can do this within a contract where you ask for one fixed rate for this fixed volume of work. And then the variable work, we ask for a per unit cost. So it is all still under one contract. It'll just help for pricing. So I've seen this in the past where if you don't set some things as variable and some things as fixed, you'll end up getting much higher bids because someone has to assume that they are going to have to do the maximum amount of work all the time. So you will get better pricing more competitively if you can make it very specific to the work involved. The other benefit with this is that because even right now you do have a pay per service. So for every pump and haul, you receive payment. So if we're then paying per pump and haul, there is a direct correlation between revenue and expense for the pump and haul portion of the work.
So in essence, that's how works you're going to capture and us be allowed to sort of grow into the maximum service within the next 3 years. Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So Ron has made a motion to accept this request. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second.
Jill, all in favor? AA.
Aye.
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 Passed. Okay. Okay, request for decision, Salmon Beach sewage capacity review and pump and haul rates. Salmon Beach Committee recommend that the ACRD Board of Directors approve an increased rate system for pump and haul on Salmon Beach.
Page you on, Ellen.
That's, I don't know. I'm lost, right? Oh, page 13 on here.
20.
13 to 20.
Page 13 is this one.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I have a question.
this is the new rates for pump.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Where
Go
did
ahead.
this come from? Where did this come from? Like, we've never
Jenny.
discussed.
Sorry, Ron, continue.
I'm just wondering where this request for decision came from. Like, I got this on Friday. I'd never heard anything about upping our rates for sewage. The other issue we'll have with this is this will have to go to a committee or like the whole group of our owners,
Community.
you know, the community. It sort of blindsided me. I don't know why we would penalize people that use more. I think we'd be better off trying to educate them to try and use less sewage, put less into their tanks. You know I think I had 3 pumps this year. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at my logbook. I keep a good track of what I use and what I put in my tank. I just wondering where it came from.
I'd be happy to speak to that.
Jenny?
Thank you. So at the last meeting, as I'm new to working with Salmon Beach, I heard a lot of feedback about concerns about pump and hauls and the increase. And so I started digging into this to look at this and see, well, what's going on at Salmon Beach then? Because I didn't realize that this is a problem or that there was concerns. And so I thought, well, let's pull up the data and look and see what's going on. And so when we pulled up the data, the detailed data for the last 2 years, but just in general, what is showing is that we have an increase. So it's about 10% increase per year for the last 5 years. We have a lot of factors contributing to this growth. So Salmon Beach is becoming more popular. There is a surge of buying and selling out there and people moving there. There is a housing shortage on the West Coast. There is a lot of factors that I'm sure is adding to this. So I think we can expect to see this growth. And with all of that, the question comes, well, are we planning well for that? Have we looked at that? And I looked at what we had done sort of for the rehabilitation plans and the type 2 treatment in 2018. And the data was just based on it was actually based on 2012 flow data. So it was a little concerning to me. And I thought, well, let's pull the data. Let's really look at it. I do have a bit of a background in water and wastewater. So I just love this stuff anyhow. And it's really good data. And so as I was looking at it, I realized that I think you guys need to see this because I don't think you have this information as well. And it's important for long-term planning and how things are moved forward. So when we look at the data, some of the things that we see are that about 2/3 of people only have 1 or 2 pump and hauls. So a very large portion of the community isn't using the system a lot. And then you have a very small portion which is using the system a heck of a lot. And when you've got systems where you have this stratified demand, so a water system is one of the ones where you have a little better control because you actually do meter the water. So that's one where you can look at different, basically financial tools to manage demand. Education is a tool that you can use to manage demand. It is not that effective. It is a lot of energy, it is a lot of time, and it is also challenging because you have to, of course, work on relationships, and in smaller communities, it can be even more challenging. And so financial tools have been found to be really effective because even if people don't change their behavior because they're paying more, the fact that they're paying more helps to pay for the service. So there's a lot of benefits in looking at a potential increasing rate system. But either way, I think that what we're seeing is with the demand and the increasing demand, the current system is going to be, the current system, as you guys have seen and like just visually seen in the feedback I've gotten to, is that it's reached capacity and we want type 2 treatment so that it can receive more pump and hauls. But even with the type 2, I think it's important to look at the sort of the chart. If we're projecting forward and we're looking at demand, that's going to be maxed out by 2027, or if you're actually looking at peak demand, so that's when we're sort of managing demand within what can be handled, you're at 2023. So within a couple of years, people will want more because we haul on a demand basis instead of it just being a collection system that has to accept what comes to it. We do have a little more control over what we take. We could also just limit it and say, you only get 2 a year, and then that'll be a way to manage how much can actually go into the system. There's a lot of challenges with that, but in essence, what I wanted to bring to the committee, and you definitely don't have to make any decisions right now, but this information I thought was really important to get to you to start looking at how do we deal with this, is that the system currently isn't meeting demand. With type 2, we're only going to get a few more years out of it. So we need to make I shouldn't say that, there has to be some solution to that. Whether that means that the excess is pumped off site, and I understand that people can, of course, hire the rented center right now, and they will haul to Ucluelet, but that's very expensive. It's like $600, I think, a load. Or we could try to encourage people to conserve and be more thoughtful with their usage. Also, long term, I brought a report last meeting about water. And I know that you guys are looking at water service. So the more you've got these interests, the more we look at bringing in these services, the more important this is going to be to look at. And I'd rather talk about it now than in 2023 or 2027 when it's like, why can't we deal with this? So I think it's a good discussion. I am proposing an increasing rate system in this because I've seen it be effective. And it actually, it will become, if you looked at it doesn't have to be the exact numbers that I put in, but I had to put something in to try and explain how an increasing rate system could work. Right now, there's high property or parcel taxes. So the parcel taxes are 155. So everyone pays that, whether you use the system or not. And then you pay $120 for every single pump and haul, no matter how many you have. So someone who is doing 9 pump and hauls, which is quite an outlier, but say 9 pump and hauls a year, they're paying $1,200, right? Which is totally reasonable. And for someone who's doing that, they're probably thinking, yeah, that's fine, that's okay. There's no disincentive to conserve how much sewage they're generating, to use less water, to do those things, because it's still within the realm. Now, if we looked at, you basically are shifting the cost away from parcel taxes and into the user fee, so that, you know, we still have some in parcel taxes, which is about $50, or it doesn't matter what it is, but it's, say it's less, and then you pay per your pump and hauls. So if you're a person who only has 1 pump and haul, instead of paying 155 for your parcel tax and then 120 for your first pump and haul, you would be paying $50 for your parcel tax and say 150 for your first pump and haul. So it actually would be cheaper for those who aren't using the system much. And that's good, because that's what we kind of want to encourage, is don't produce sewage. The less sewage we produce, the longer this system is going to last, the more years we can get out of it. And then for someone who has 2 pump and hauls, it's about the same price, because you're going to be paying about $400 right now. You'd be paying $395. So for 2/3 of the people in Salmon Beach, they'll be paying exactly the same or less than what they currently pay. So it really is encouraging. Maybe even some people who do 2 pump and hauls will be like, oh, well, if we do a little bit less, we can give it down to 1 and save some money. The financial incentive is a really useful tool. Now, for those who have 3, 4, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Like for 3 pump and hauls, you're up to about $700, and so on and so forth. But it really will affect those who are really using the system. And for a recreational community, like, that is where we want to look at. So instead of paying $1,200, you'd be paying like $3,000 if you're an individual who has 9 pump and hauls. So that financial disincentive is high. Potentially at some point, maybe it makes more sense for them to hire the Euclid Rented Center. I think because the rates aren't, it would still be technically more affordable, I think. So I hope that I've explained at least the essence of why I'm bringing the report. The other 2 things that the report says is, you know, we could look at this increasing rate system. You could do a limit to just say you can only do 2 pump and hauls and everything else has to go off site. But also it wouldn't be a bad idea to look at what does that look like even beyond that. So what about hauling off site? Do we consider using the pump and haul truck that we have to provide an off-site option? Is that, and then we just manage the demand. That's one option that you could look at. The other one is, again, looking potentially at expanding the sewage capacity. So do we look at more treatment beyond type 2? Is type 3 a good fit? Because it would increase the volume that can go there.
At what cost?
Well, I think
That's a toughie. That's a toughie.
Well, maybe I'll let you guys answer some questions, and I'll shut up for a little bit.
Jill,
Well,
Ron, do you want to
Jill.
go first?
no, well, I'm going to make a motion to table this until we have a better understanding of what we're looking for. You know, I think there's a lot that we need to discuss and over this, and I think we should table it until we can get together on it and go through it all and make a decision amongst the committee, take it to the ACRD. You know, there's lots of information in it.
Take it to the community.
Yeah, and take it to the community, and maybe like Jenny said about the user pay thing type of thing, but you know, that's what I think we should do. I think we should table it until we have a we can have a good discussion. We can go through it. Like I say, I got it on Friday. I've been involved in sewage treatment through schools, and in the long term, I think we need to look at something better than what we have, because we are a growing community. Once we get, like, if every lot out there had a cabin on it, what we have there now isn't going to cut it. But that's years down the road, in my opinion.
Okay. Jill,
I couldn't agree with Ron more. I just have a few comments to make. One is that I'm absolutely opposed to penalizing people who use or the system more than other people. We are a community, and what happens to one cabin, in my opinion, needs to happen for all cabins. We also are a retirement community largely. To you know, increase these rates for pump and haul. When this came into inception, we had an agreement that we would not look to this system necessarily as income. We're already paying for this, all of us together, on our parcel taxes, and to keep costs down, we need to be responsible for how we treat just increasing those kinds of costs to our community. I don't believe that that is in any way, shape, or form a solution. My feeling is the same as Ron, and I think the rest of the committee, where we need to sit down and discuss now build out. It's just like putting into our 3-year maintenance contract maximum pump. Let's, you know, this is a great report, and there was a lot of time and effort put into it, Jenny, as well as money. But bang for our buck, this committee, and we've all been on it for a lot of years, this is our primary concern. So people can use their cottage, whether it's 3 weeks per year or the maximum 180 days per year. They can flush their toilet, they can pay for a pump out, it's consistent, they can budget their life, they can bring their 8 grandchildren to stay with them and not worry about, oh my God, I've used my 2 pumps. To even suggest that, Jenny, think about yourself in your own community, where you'd have to worry about living in Port Alberni and whether you're going to have to pay way more because the relatives from back east are coming out and they want to stay at Salmon Beach for a month, or Port Alberni. This is not realistic. What I would like to see is a vibrant community who's taken care of its own and taken care of the environment through that pump and haul system to the maximum of our capacity without putting undue stress and burden on our seniors, our old folks, and people that have worked their whole life to be at Salmon Beach and have unlimited enjoyment. And that's me. I'm sorry if I ranted. Ron, you knew.
I just
told
wanted
you.
to add. I just wanted to add that, you know, when you talk about the fact that we're looking at getting potable water, we're not talking about piping water to every cabin. We're talking about a 5-gallon jug. I don't really feel that that's going to have a huge impact on the amount of sewage that we put into the field.
Yeah, well, most of us bring potable water now in 5-gallon jugs anyway. So the water thing is, you know, but for this, I'll make the motion. I move we table this decision until we have a little bit more of an understanding. We go to the community and have a little bit of discussion amongst Salmon Beach for the sewage. And I think personally that we need to, in the future, we will need to upgrade to a higher sewers treatment system. I really do, like in option 3.
Yes, I was only even interested in option 3.
Yeah.
Cal, could I hear some words from you? How do you feel?
Well, I have a tendency to agree totally with Ron's comment about giving the Salmon Beach Committee an opportunity to review this great bit of information that Jenny's put forward.
Oh, yes.
I also think that it has to be brought forward to the community at some point for further discussion, because we know from our past dealings there's a whole myriad of different concepts out there and people's opinion. I mean, you know, we've talked about things in the past where you know, we don't want people to take the option of whether it's a blue boy or whatever it is, and because it's going to cost them too much money to pump out and haul or whatever, that they're going to take it and dump it off site. We don't want that. So I think it behooves the committee, and from Jill's comments as well, that that we're going to be looking to a future of a type 3 system that we're going to, and we're not that far away, I don't think, to put in a proper sanitation treatment plant. So that's my comment, if that's what you're looking for. Thank you.
Jill?
Just very quickly, I'm not sure if we're finished paying for the hydro and through referendum, that sort of thing. I think that this is the quantum leap that we're going to take as a community to take care of this system sort of once and for all, and at the capacity of build out. And I think that's where we are now. And I, for one, am excited to be here at this place to take care of this in its entirety, and not in piecemeal or charging people who enjoy Salmon Beach more often or in different ways than others. Thank you.
Okay, so we will table this. Ron's made a motion to table this, to look into it further. Can somebody please second it?
Jenny has her hand up.
Jill?
I
Jill?
second.
Oh, Jenny, sorry.
If I
Jenny
may,
wants to speak, sorry.
I have one question which is related to the last report, and it wasn't specific in here because we were just talking about rates, and I didn't pull it out specifically. And it is the paragraph that says, it basically speaks to rates for users who self-haul. So we talked a lot about this in the last discussion on the last report. So I guess I'm curious if the committee would be supportive of considering, outside of this, or if you want to do it all as a whole, is setting rates for self-haul. If we're locking it down, if like that's kind of part of the last discussion, if we're going to lock down access and make sure that people use pay per use, you know, it would be a $5 charge for a Blue Boy because it's $100 or less. And then those who are hauling larger volumes, they just pay the $5 per 100 meter rate. I'm sorry to pull that out as another thought item.
I think it should be
No.
more than $5.
No. Yeah, I think the big haulers need to be shut down personally.
I agree.
I agree. And there
agree.
aren't a lot of them.
No,
There's
there
only
aren't.
3, I believe.
I think, I don't
Possibly
know
4.
which.
I can't quite figure it out.
Yeah, I only think there's one.
So can we not allow
there's
anything
more.
larger than a Blue Boy?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes. Yeah.
And charge
Kel?
them I'd charge them $20 a Blue Boy.
So again, it goes back
Kel?
to
Kel?
how do we control, you know, how, I have no idea how many people pump and haul or do their own thing. Ron says he thinks there's only one person that has a larger capacity, but I think, you know, we have to tighten this up to the point that we know exactly who's got what. And when they're planning on doing their dump, if it's, again, it's got to be scheduled, it's got to be tightened up to 1 day a week that works for the contractor. And, you know, anything, and I agree, you know, with the comments that were made earlier about anybody that buys a property at Salmon Beach, they have to put in a holding tank.
Yeah.
And further, that if we know the numbers of people that have Blue Boys or whatever that want to do their own haul and dump, that they be assessed accordingly. It's pretty simple. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Biggest problem
I
with
agree on
Blue
that.
Boys is that the other problem with Blue Boys though is it doesn't matter if the gate's locked or not, they can still get in. They just walk through. And that does happen. So
Quite
That's
often.
easy to fix
and
and
the
build a
only
better
reason I
gate.
know, Yeah.
Yeah, but then they'd use my bridge.
Yeah.
Gate
Jill,
your bridge.
And again, in addressing the growth and changes to Salmon Beach, when we first came, we were campers. But today we aren't campers. And for folks looking to purchase at Salmon Beach, you must understand that this is not a camping community anymore. It's difficult for you if you're just up with a Blue Boy and that's your entire means of stay at Salmon Beach. That's going to be difficult. If you have intention of staying at Salmon Beach any length of time, you must look at a tank. And it's a sign of the changing times. You know, a bit of camping is one thing. You can manage to get down there with Ryan, but on a regular basis, it's not a service that's provided. It's just
Sure.
changes.
So what do we want to do about this, though?
I think we need to shut down
well-
the big hall and to discuss with the contractor the workable situation for receiving Blue Boys in future in this contract, whether it be a set
Yeah.
time when he's there and that's it.
And a charge for it. Terry?
Yes.
Can we,
Terry?
I would assume that if we are going to make it so that if people purchase property at Salmon Beach, that they have to install a tank, that would have to be a bylaw.
Yeah. Yes.
So if we're doing
It
a
would be more
bylaw,
than a bylaw.
so if we're doing a bylaw for something else, can we not include that?
Jenny,
Yeah, so
Jenny, please.
thank you. I'm not sure where that suits. That actually might have to go into like a building, the building bylaw and subdivision where we specify the structures on site. I think that's where that might fit. I'll have to do a little investigation. The current
great.
bylaw that we have, yeah, the current bylaw we have for the pump and haul rates, we can add in, we'll keep the 120 static, table this motion, but we can add in a fee for self-haul, whether that is $20 for a Blue Boy. And I think, again, we have to do it probably volumetrically. Blue Boys, I think, are sort of 80 liters. So if we set it at about 100, I was proposing even just $5, but if 20 is the rate, that's fine. I guess from the committee, it would be helpful if you are interested in passing a resolution in regards to that specifically. I can go away and look about regulating the requirement for tank installation, but I don't think it'll fit under this specific bylaw. It might be a different one.
That would be super helpful, Jenny. You know, it's something that
I
move us a long way forward.
Can I speak on this?
Yes.
You have to put a tank in the ground if you're building a cabin. What we're trying to enforce is that every lot have a tank in the ground if you have a shed, a trailer, a whatever. But you have to have one for a cabin, doesn't matter. But what we would like to see done is you've got a trailer on your lot, you need a tank on your lot.
That's
So that
If
you're
you're-
not hauling Blue Boys.
If
So
your lot,
and that's where you end up with.
yeah. If your lot
If your
is
lot
being
what?
occupied, you need to have a tank on it.
period.
Yeah.
So Jenny, is there
Period.
somewhere that,
Yeah.
you know, through just a lot owner that we could have a bylaw to enforce that?
I'm going to investigate all of those options.
Okay.
I don't know specifically at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Terry?
I just wanted to say about the fee, you know, given the fact that Ryan's going to be standing down there and we want to discourage the use of people dumping their own Blue Boys, I think $5 is not much of a hindrance to people. I think it needs to be higher, and that might be a
I
bit
agree.
of a
Yeah.
get them
20
to
bucks for Ryan's time.
Maybe
and,
20 dollars.
yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Jenny?
So if that is the rate that the committee is considering. If we said, okay, so just so you know, if it's $20 per 100 liters, then if someone is self-hauling a full tank underground, it would cost them about $900 to self-haul that to the septic field, which probably would be enough of a deterrent for them to do that. If you did that. So versus if we had it at $5, then it's only 227. It's still a deterrent, but I like the minimum 20. But it would be $200 if someone self-hauled their own full tank, which is still way more than 120. So at either rate, whether it was $5 or $20, but a $20 minimum makes, I think, very good sense. So I guess what I might be looking for from the committee is a specific recommendation for updating the bylaw on a self-haul rate. And I think that that is a reasonable minimum $25 per 100 otherwise. Or it could just be $20.
Jill?
At what
No.
point can we say no large haul?
Can say it now.
Well, we can.
So
we
it's,
could
you know, it's
regulate
Blue
it. It
Boys
can be-
only, no large haul, not,
So we would want to set a limit what
Mhm.
large is. So if you say Blue Boys are again about 80, if you say no more than 200 liters at a time, it's a lot easier to deal with and to communicate and be very fair and, you know, yeah, no more than 200 liters is allowed as self-haul.
okay,
And then it would be $20 per 100 liters. So you'd be paying 20 or 40.
mhm. And then just the large
Sounds good.
self-hauling is over. Yeah,
Well, we limit self-hauling to 200 liters. They can't self-haul large limits anyways then.
perfect.
Okay,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Cal?
Yeah. Kel?
I think that keeping it at $20 or $25 per whatever liters for a Blue Boy should be enough of a deterrent. Anything over 100 liters is going to be, and I think a Blue Boy is not 100 liters, but it may only be 80 or 60. I don't know, but whatever it happens to be, anything over that, I think that $25 or $20 per should be enough of an incentive for people. There should be no large haul, period. And irregardless of who it is or what it is, that should be stopped, period. So
Yeah.
I would suggest the Blue Boy and the comment that's for the contractor's time to be there on a given date and time is fair enough. So nothing over a Blue Boy.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
So do we need a motion to do this? I agree.
I
We need a
move that
motion
we,
to do this. Okay. Go ahead.
I move that we stop, I'm just trying to figure out how to word this, that we stop larger sewer dumps from trailered tanks and allow Blue Boys only at a cost of $20 per Blue Boy to be scheduled through Ryan or the contractor.
Why don't you just change that to move the self-haul is limited to 200 liters, Blue Boys only, $20.
Sounds good.
And
Does that make?
I'm concerned,
Yeah.
I'm still concerned about how people schedule getting into the field, because I don't think people should be calling Ryan directly.
Well, we would set the
Well, it'll
time.
be,
We'll
we
say
would set a
Mondays
day and a
from,
time.
yeah,
That's your choice.
yeah,
Monday from 9 to 11 is your window. Like, we need to protect this place, and
Yeah.
this is what we're doing.
yes.
So, okay, so Ron's motion is that we limit self-haul to 200 liters and Blue Boys only, and at a cost of $20. Who would like to second that?
I second it.
During, and you should
Yeah.
add to that, Ellen, you should add to that, to be dumped during scheduled time.
Yeah, to be done during scheduled time.
I second.
Did I? Jill second, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Okay, next. Okay, we're tabling the
Tabling
sewage
the request
capacity
for,
review pump and haul rate.
Okay,
Yes. Ron motion to table. Who seconds that, please?
I will.
Jill? Okay, all in favor? All in
I'm lost.
favor?
aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye.
Who's lost?
I am.
Terry's lost. No,
Okay,
the
we're
part,
on number
the
5
sewage
reports now.
capacity. Yeah. Jenny's up. Update on type 2 treatment project.
I'm very happy to report that I do have an update for you. And so what we've done, we were waiting to work with Toquat for the permitting, right? To make sure that we had everything in place and they were happy with that. They have had challenges with staff turnover, just as we all have. And so I was able to meet with Dave and we had a great discussion. And so what we looked at a better solution for this is that the license of occupation needs to be renewed in April. So we have the capacity to just update the language in there. And so we can update the language to ensure that there is adequate, basically just provide enough assurance to them that we are operating the septic field in a responsible manner so that there's no negative impacts on the environment, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, the license of occupation language is very standard and not very specific to, say, a septic field. So there's easy room to put in there, just a little more language on that. They felt that that was a really good solution because it'll achieve our objectives and it is a system in place, so it's the least amount of effort for everyone. So we're going to work forward on that. And with that being said, they said, please do proceed. So, but
Yay! Okay.
Yay!
So when is this going to tenders?
okay, so with that, I wanted to talk to the committee about a couple things. So the updated cost estimate, I actually just got an email from Steve. And so we're actually looking at $107,000. So it's a little bit more than anticipated, but that's in line with what we're seeing everywhere. So I think that is really valid. We have $100,000 in the capital budget for the project. I think we can easily put in another $7, which can get approved in the financial plan. I don't foresee an issue with that. I will connect with Terry just to confirm, but it's only $7,000. So there's that. And
Okay, question though about that. Are we still able to use the 50,000 of the gas tax towards that?
I believe that
Kel?
the budget, but I think it includes the 50,000 that's been allocated for that. So there's no reason that needs to change.
Well, then the capital reserve doesn't need to change if we're using that 50,000. Because we only need 57,000 of our capital reserve.
Correct, but I think
Okay, right?
50. So it's not a big deal though, because I think we had another, I saw 25 for something else as well. For the pumper truck roof, which I don't believe got done. So we can do a little bit of shuffling there.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. That's okay.
The other one.
Okay, so when is it going to tender?
Well, so I want to talk just one more thing before we pull the trigger on this. We just discussed about, so as I was going through that review and put all that information together, the thing that popped into my head is, well, this is interesting. So we can continue to just put the type 2 treatment in place for sure. However, it may be timely to take a few minutes to just look at what would be the cost to install type 3 instead of type 2, what would be the additional capacity, and how would that affect us. So if we looked at something like that, it would take a little bit of time, like maybe, if I'm being realistic, a month, right? We'd talk to Steve at H2O and say, okay, Steve, like, what would a type 3 system look like for Salmon Beach instead? What would be the cost for that instead? And we could compare the two options. Now, the value in potentially looking at that right now, instead of, because if we did type 2, we still know that maybe we need to do something in the future, right? So we will have to look at that, and then we would be upgrading the system at some point, 2023, 27, who knows when and what, and there's a lot of work to do. If we took a breath now and looked at type 2 versus type 3, and maybe it is more cost effective to actually just go straight to type 3 and get a lot more capacity. That, but I also recognize the risk in which there is move forward on type 2. So I just wanted to ask, either option is available. There may be some cost savings in taking a moment now to just look at this and review it before moving forward. That's what I'd like to suggest.
Jill?
I think it's a great suggestion, Jenny. My only concern with it is that we're talking about a month, which is nothing. But if we're talking about 6 or 9 or more months before we, were to get any kind of idea, I think that's what concerns me. Is if it's just a month or so, I think it's great information to have, and we can struggle another year if we've spent our money wisely for the greater outcome. That I just worry that with answers and reports, and do we have to go back to our neighbors and ask if that's going to be okay? Is that a factor in there? If we went to type 3 and have it become a laborious and time-consuming thing.
Do I understand right, though, if we go type 3, it's going to improve our flow by 75% over and above?
Wow.
Yeah. So that would mean how many pumps a week?
So the potential is that
Jenny?
I really do want to look at this instead of just saying we should definitely do type 3, because I would want to feel very confident. I don't want to oversell or overpromise what these systems can do. And in fact, I know with type 2 we will get some increase, but in some cases, right, this is a unique system. It is potentially very concentrated sewage going into a system. So I would want to do just a bit of reference checking on existing systems that Steve's proposing. So say we've got the BioNest type 3 in place. I know there's some installed, so I'd want to call and just do it is a bit of work to do it and do it properly. I don't know if I can guarantee a month, but I would hope that it would be much less than 6 months. So maybe 1 to 3 months would be reasonable to consider that it would be at least that much of a delay. Maybe I don't foresee the cost being extremely higher, like it's not going to be double the price, that's for sure, but there might be an additional price tag. We have the money to afford that. There's a lot of things, and I really wish we would have talked about this a year ago, but it is now, and we are having the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Terry?
So do we need to consider putting more money in the budget now in anticipation of possibly doing something more than type 2?
I don't know how much you would have to put in at this point. So I don't have a lot of answers.
Because otherwise we're held up for another year. Is that not correct?
We could do a financial plan amendment if it was urgent. So then we would go back to the board and specifically ask them to allocate more money. It would depend if the money is there to allocate to it. I think we do have, so it's not that bad. If we don't spend the money we have, and I don't know what the update is, but it looks like we have an additional $60,000 in the capital reserve for sewage for Salmon Beach.
So if we went maxed out on our capital reserve, for 2022, 21 for this specific thing, we should have enough money to do it then. I mean, we max out on it. We're doing one system or the other anyway. So we max out what we've got sitting there to make sure it covers us if we're going to do type 3, but it will cover us if we do type 2, then we're ready to go. So that's how I look at it. And if it doesn't happen, it just all goes back to where it was before. Okay. Jill.
So my assumption is we're not going to get the type 2 work done until the spring anyway, when it's drier and that sort of thing. So I think I would be really in favor, Jenny, of you diving in and having a look at the potential for the type 3, and within the next month or 6 weeks or even 2 months, that we could make a better and more informed decision about which of the systems is going to actually happen. I think that's really great use of time and the potential of the spending of the money. I'm really excited to hear about that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
agree with you, Jill.
So
Yeah.
let's dive in.
Yes, yes, let's hold off on the type 2 right now until we find out if type 3 is going to work, what kind of capacity it's going to give us, and what the cost is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, if we hold off until, say, where are we, December, middle of December, as long as we have a report by the middle of February, does that sound good to everybody?
Yes, that sounds
Does that work for
terrific.
Jenny?
Super. Thank you
Okay,
very
so
much.
if we could get some information back by the middle of February, that would be awesome, and we'll go from there.
Great.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, anything else on this part of it, Jenny?
Need any resolutions at this point? I think that's just work on my part, and I'm good with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, report B, Regional District of Nanaimo blue boxes.
Yes.
I take it this is recycling.
Which actually ties with, I had another item, a late item that I wanted to add, and just as a verbal report regarding the solid waste hauling act. So I'll speak to that as well. So interesting situation. So the Regional District of Nanaimo is implementing organics diversion. So they had blue boxes and little green things, and they went to an automated cart system. And then with that, they did a take back program. So they let anyone who had a blue box that they no longer need drop it off. And they said, we're going to go recycle those. And instead of just sending them to recycling, they've offered up all these blue boxes to their neighboring regional districts, municipalities. And so we have some blue boxes, which offered to us for free, which is interesting because we are also moving towards 3-stream automatic collection for Port Alberni in phase 1. And then on the West Coast, we'll be doing the same thing. So in theory, we may also have some blue boxes that we might have to be taking back and dealing with, but it's Christmas and they're free. And so I couldn't help myself. I wanted to bring it to the committee and see if anyone's interested in blue boxes, because it's an interesting situation in the remote communities where people are either self-hauling or in some cases, like say Makoa, they have their own private little curbside collection program where a blue box would be an asset to them. Again, kind of a small system. So I don't know if this is a good fit for Salmon Beach, if you think the community would have value in these blue boxes. I am hoping that everyone in Salmon Beach, of course, keeps all of their recyclables and then hauls them away to recycle them, in which case maybe blue boxes would be wonderful transfer devices or maybe not. But long-term, I know that there's interest in having recycling at the transfer station, in which case it might be a good fit because then you're just hauling it to the transfer station. Lots of options. I don't know if you're interested in the blue boxes, and also I may have more blue boxes later this year, actually from Port Alberni. So I don't know if there's urgency to accept these or not, or if we want to wait, but it's Christmas. Would you like some free boxes?
Yeah.
So the concept, Jenny, is we would get the blue boxes and then we just bring our recyclables back and forth in our blue box. Is that what the system is now?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like the households of Salmon Beach. Here's some blue boxes, and people might be like, oh, that's great. And they might even use them for other things. Honestly, I use my blue box. I have many, and I use them for a lot of things other than recycling.
I think it's a great idea because it's going to give an introduction to our community that everything doesn't go
There
in
is
the-
recycling.
Yeah.
There is
And
recycling.
here's your box, take it home. Or like for now, until the next piece comes, right? I like
I'll-
it.
I'll take 2.
Oh, Cal,
Cal?
So thanks for that. When the RDN first brought this forward, one of the suggestions was, well, you can keep your blue box and use it for recycling, which is good, or you can plant potatoes in it or whatever, use it as a planter. From my perspective, and I mentioned it, I believe to Jenny, that I would be willing personally to haul all of the blue boxes that are given to us out to Salmon Beach, and the committee can distribute accordingly. I think it's a bonus that if you have, right now we put all of our recycles into a plastic bag and take them home, and the RDN gets them. So if we have a blue box, that's even better. And I think it's a good step forward towards improvements at Salmon Beach with regards to recycling, and then hopefully a little further along into better management of garbage in particular. Thank you.
I think it's really a
Yes.
great idea.
Yes, we'll take your,
We'll take them.
we'll take your blue boxes.
How many do you want?
How many
I'll
have you
take
got?
2. I want 2 for my own house. My
How
cat.
many have you got, Jenny?
An unlimited number of blue boxes.
What do you say, Cal, for what do you
as
haul
many-
out?
As many as Cal can get in his truck.
Well, I've been able to haul pipe, ditching pipe out there for John Thomas. So my flat deck trailer will probably handle 300 or 400, whatever works and whatever we can fit into the schedule. If we consider 270 lots, that'd be like 540 if we give 2 per lot. But I would say, I don't know, 400 or 500, 400 maybe.
I agree.
400. 400. That would be lovely.
Okay,
And we'll
I'm in.
just
Thank you.
distribute them.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
With
Thank
Sandra
you.
Roberts, and we will
Okay.
reach out to you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the next item
Okay.
is, sorry, Ellen, the related item to that one is the hauling contract for waste.
Oh.
So right now that
Right.
contract is coming up for renewal, I think at end of April. Now with that, because we do have organics diversion coming, I know that you guys are looking at recycling, there's a lot of potential changes. And so I would like to suggest that instead of putting an RFP out right now for 3 years for garbage hauling, I would like to extend the current contract for 1 year, which will give us time to look at what garbage will look like in the longer term and put out a better contract for bid. And so if the Salmon Beach Committee is in support of that, then I would take that to the board as a recommendation to just extend the existing contract for 1 year.
I am in favor.
And me too.
I'm in favor. Yeah. Sounds good. Go ahead.
That's everything.
Okay. I think that's it, people.
Okay.
Any
That's
late
everything.
business?
So, no. Any late business? No? Good. We have no public watching us. Oh, wait a minute, Jill.
I just want to wish
Jill, go
everyone
ahead.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Everyone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Merry
I
Christmas,
move,
everybody.
I
And
move we adjourn
I
this meeting.
adjourn this meeting.
Thank you all.
We'll
Deb.
see you all in the new year.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Keep well, everyone.
Merry
You too.
Christmas.